All right. Welcome everybody. Good evening, and thank you for joining us for a virtual planning team meeting. First time we've really done this with the Westside planning team. I think I know pretty much everybody on the call. There's a couple new faces. So for those who haven't met me in person, my name is Chris Ryerson. I'm with the city's planning department. I help to oversee all of the different sub-area plans that we work on around the city, the Westside Community Area Plan being one of those. And then alongside Anna, who will introduce herself in a moment, I'm kind of the co-project manager for the Westside Community Area Plan. And just really excited to get going on this again. You know, a lot of you were with us for many meetings during 2017, 2018, part of 2019, and then COVID hit. So it's really exciting just to get started again, not only with those who were part of the process before, but we've also, you know, tried to use our network and people we've met over the years to folks to be on the planning team as well. Just trying to have a really diverse group, a wide range of voices to make sure that we're hearing everything we need to hear as we work with you all to develop this plan. So with that, I think I will pass it along to Anna, and then Linda will introduce herself and then guide us through each of you as on the planning team introducing yourself as well. So Anna.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We are very happy to be kickstarting back this plan. I joined the department a little more than 3 years now. I was working on the rezoning to align the comprehensive plan with the sub-area land use with the comprehensive plan. I'm very happy to be joining Chris now on the efforts to keep developing this plan with y'all. We have a consultant, Linda Jimenez and Laura Jimenez, which they're going to be introducing themselves as well. They're going to be helping us not only tonight, but throughout the process. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to Linda.
Thank you, Anna. Good evening, everybody. My name is Linda Jimenez, and I'm going to be facilitating the meeting this evening. And what that means basically is that I'm going to be calling on you to participate in part of the discussion, and then also just kind of keep us on track. And what that also means is that maybe there might be an occasion or so where I have to ask somebody to be a little bit more concise if they start talking too much, because we're on a fairly tight time schedule, and we have a lot of people that we want to hear from. So I may have to do that. Okay. Let me ask everybody to introduce yourselves. I'm going to ask you to say, and I'll call on you one at a time. What I'll do is I'll go through what's on my screen, and I'll just call you. So I'll say two people. First will be Charisma, and then Rob, CA. And so if you'll just unmute yourself as it's time for you to speak, so that I'll say two people at a time so we can kind of keep it moving a little bit quicker. But what I'd like for you to do is say your name and who you represent, if you're representing someone, and then how long you've lived or worked on the West Side. Okay, so I'll start with Charisma.
Hello. Did you see Charisma?
Yeah, I did.
It's very funny because the only person that calls me Charisma is my mom if she's super upset with me.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Normally you just call me Charisma, which is totally fine. I love it. I'm very blessed with this name. I'm actually the assistant to Simon here at the Good Samaritan Center here on 19th. And I'll be completely honest, I grew up in Casiano Homes for a little while. You know, I'm a product of SAISD. I grew up in the West Side my entire life. My mom was fortunate enough to become a teacher and bought a house, and it was here on 19th Street. And I only not lived in the West Side when I went to UT in Austin, and then I moved back to the West Side. So I always wanted to make a difference here where I'm from. So I'm very happy to be here.
Good, thank you, Charisma. I'm gonna skip Rob because he doesn't seem to be responding. Gabriel and then Simon.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Gabriel Gonzalez. I represent the Westside. I just retired from doing master planning for the Air Force and for Randolph and Fort Sam Houston and Cambola. So I have a lot of experience in master planning. I used to work for the San Antonio Development Agency back in the late 70s to the mid 80s. Then I worked for Rob Benner and Associates doing master planning.
Gabriel, can I ask you to just give us your name and who you're representing for right now?
Okay.
Please? Thank you. And then if you tell us how long you've lived or worked on the West Side.
I lived and worked well, I don't live there anymore, but I worked in the West Side probably my entire life.
Oh, great. Thank you. Simon?
Yes, Simon Salas. I'm the CEO for Good Samaritan. I have lived on the West Side, I guess altogether over 30 years. I spent 25 years in New York, and then I came back. So I'm back here now for the last 5 years here at Good Sam.
Great, good. Thank you. Laura Calderon, and then Lauro.
Hi, this is Laura Calderon, and I'm working with Jimenez and Associates and taking notes on things that people are saying. I was raised on the West Side. I live a little bit outside of that area now by Woodlawn Lake. So I'm pretty much a lifelong West Sider. Thank you.
Thank you. Lauro? Would you need to unmute yourself? There you go.
I'm Lauro de Leon, and I live in Los Jardines, but I've been a West Sider for 82 years, except 9 years that I was in the military.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very well acquainted with West Side.
Good, thank you. Sandra, and then Layla.
Good evening, I'm Sandra Morales. I'm the Executive Director at House of Neighborly Service. I've been working there for 13 years now, and I live right on the cusp of this group's focus area. My backyard's Highway 90, and I live right off of Zamora.
Great, thank you. Layla?
Leila Powell, I work for LISC, and we support a number of the organizations on this call. We've worked with House of Neighborly Service and Good Sam, and I don't want to say the others because I don't want to leave anybody out, but I also work for the city and the county, so we didn't get to work in just one neighborhood, but have worked with these groups for years, I guess, since I came back to San Antonio in the late 90s.
Thank you. Stephen, and then Ana, you've already done yours, and then Delia.
Hello, Stephen Garza Guzman here with Stacy, third generation West Sider, born and raised on the West Side. Stacy recently moved to our newest home off of Brazo Street on the West Side. I moved a little bit further south where I live off of Zamora, so I'm now southwest. I'm not just west anymore. Sorry about that. But you know, West Side will always be my home and my heart.
Thank you. Delia?
Yes, I'm Delia Ramirez Trimble. I grew up on the West Side, don't live on the West Side right now, but this is my 10th year as president of the Friends Group of Las Palmas Library. And I'm an advocate for the West Side and also a member of the associate member, I guess, of the Las Palmas Neighborhood Association and the West Side Coalition of Neighborhood Associations.
Great, thank you, Delia. Christina? And then Moto. I know that's
did you say me, Linda, or is that a Christina?
Oh, Christine, I'm sorry.
Okay, I didn't know.
You're the right one, I'm sorry.
Yes. I'm one half of the VIA team on this plan, the other Christina Castaño, but I'm Christine Vina. I'm an architect and urban planner with VIA Metropolitan Transit. And so when I was working with the city many years ago, I spent a lot of time working on the West Side plan. So I know the neighborhood, and I think I've driven every single street very slowly.
Good, thank you. Hello, Moto?
Yes. Hi, I'm sorry, did I not display my name?
No, you
I'm not
didn't.
familiar.
That's okay.
All right, well, okay, my name
Tell
is
us your
Jessica.
name.
My name is Jessica Ann Garcia. I represent the Prospect Hill Neighborhood Association, and that is a sub entity of the Advocate Social Services. I've been with them 17 years, but I was born and raised in the West Side. I went to Tafoya, JT, Tafoya, and Lanier, and I had come from a generation of former my parents and live right there, right across on Houston Street by the Advocates. My dad and Charlie Mata worked together for many years, so I'm kind of following their footsteps and enjoy working for the Advocates, doing
Great.
being a board member and advocating for people.
Thank you, Jessica. Eugenio?
Hello,
And then Benjamin.
my name is Eugenio Rodriguez. I'm new to this, and it's nice to see you all. I mean, again, y'all have always been trying to do your best and stuff. And I'm with the Loma Vista Neighborhood Association. I'm also the president of the Memorial Branch Library, Friends of the Library, and I'm in other groups. And I've been here. Well, south of me, my grandma lived there when this area was called Las Colonias. So this was out of town, which is right on General McMullen, west of General McMullen. Yeah. So this was out of town. I mean, in the old days. But in any case, I live in this area. I've been here all my life. And well, I'm here to see what's happening. But nice to see you again, Linda and
Nice
Mr. Chris. And todos.
Always good to see you. Thank you. Benjamin? And then Christina Valle.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ben Perry, or Benjamin. I can go by Ben. I work at UTSA. I'm the university architect. It's so good to see everybody here tonight. I've been at UTSA for 5.5 years. I don't live at the West Side. I actually live out by the main campus, but I come down and I go to the downtown campus frequently with all the things that we have going on. And it's a privilege to be invited to be part of this group. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Christina, and then Mira.
Yes, hi, everyone. I'm Christina Valle, and I'm the Executive Director of the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center. I'm not from San Antonio. I am from Brownsville, Texas, but from a neighborhood very similar to the West Side. And I came to the West Side of San Antonio in 1990 when I was a student at Our Lady of the Lake University. And I was a social work student there and did a lot of my work in the West Side area and in a lot of these schools and all of these neighborhoods here. And now for the last 5 years, I have been living and working in the West Side at the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center. And I live in Collins Gardens, which I'm not sure it's the West Side, but it is in this area that we're working on for the purposes of this planning, I think.
Yeah, so, it's definitely in our plan area, Christina.
It's in the planning area. So I'm not sure exactly where all the boundaries are, but I'm right here.
Oh, good. Well, you're here today. That's what counts. Yep. Thank you, Christina. Mira, is that how you say your name?
Yes, very close. My name is Mira Gesov, and I'm with the San Antonio River Authority. And I've been with them for the past few years. I've been working on the Westside Creeks area with Westside Creeks Justice and Restoration for the past 3 years. And happy to be with everyone.
Great. Thank you, Mira. Jeremy and then Richard.
There we go. Hello, everyone. I'm Jeremy Landin. I am a resident in Prospect Hill, actually, but I work for County Commissioner Rebecca Clay Flores. I'm on the city's library board for representing District 5, and I'm on the Westside Creeks Citizens Oversight Advisory Committee. That's a very long name, but I'm on that, and then on the Prosper West placemaking committee. So lots of West Side things and a few other things, but I'm really glad to be here. Glad to see so many familiar faces.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank
Richard and then Brian.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, Richard Garcia. I'm president of the Memorial Heights Neighborhood Association. I live in District 5. I'm a member of the WENX and I support the Tier 1. Also, I've been a president of Memorial Heights, born and raised here in the West Side. I worked as a social worker for Edgewood for almost 3 decades. So I'm very familiar with the West Side.
Good, thank you. Thank you, Richard. Brian, and then Glasscock, Mr. Glasscock.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Brian Mast. I'm with the San Antonio River Authority. I manage government affairs for them. Grew up kind of north central San Antonio, but have been working on the Westside Creeks ecosystem restoration project since 2008. Great to see a lot of familiar faces here tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Daryl Glasscock. I'm representing Our Lady of the Lake University, where I've been the director of facilities there for 18 years. I was raised in the planning area and graduated from Burbank High School. Actually went to Collins Garden Elementary. It was mentioned a little bit earlier, so very familiar with the area.
Thank you. Eric Estrada and then Jessica, but not the previous Jessica. This is a different Jessica.
Hi, this is Eric Estrada. I'm the president of Los Jardines Neighborhood Association and member of the Westside Neighborhood Association Coalition, and live in the Westside for the majority of my life, with the exception of college a little bit. But I'm involved with the community, and I was one of the original, I guess, planning members when this first started. So I'm looking forward to just picking up again, and glad to see a lot of familiar faces as well. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Eric. Jessica, and then Dora Gomez. Jessica?
Was are you?
No, not you, Jessica. It's a different Jessica.
Okay.
She doesn't have her last name on there, so I'm not sure. We'll come back to Jessica. Dora, can you give us your name and who you're representing, and then how long you've lived on the West Side?
Hi, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay, great. Good afternoon. My name is Dora Gomez, and I'm with the YWCA San Antonio. I was born and raised in the West Side. I don't know for how many remember, but I went to Emma Fry Elementary. I went to Edgewood Junior High. And I have been 17 years with the YWCA. Before that, I worked for a little flower shop there on Couples Road. So I have lived and worked in the West Side.
Great, thank you,
Nice to
Dora.
be here.
Derek T. and then Iris.
Yeah, hi everybody. Derek Tulowitzki. I am the Director of Zoning and Planning for Councilwoman Terry Castillo. Happy to be here.
Great, thank you, Derek. Iris and then Velma Peña.
Hello, hi, Iris Gonzalez. I work with Chris Ryerson and Ana Villarreal in the planning department. I am a special projects manager and work on a lot of our public outreach and engagement. And like Stephen, I am very much Southwest Side right now.
Okay, thank you. Velma and then Maria de Leon.
Good evening, Velma Peña, president of the Westwood Square Neighborhood Association and part of the Westside Neighborhood Association's coalition. And also I was part of this planning team from the get-go. So I'm looking forward to, getting this going and, glad to be here. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Velma. Maria de Leon and then Rob C.A.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. My name is Maria Lopez de Leon, and I'm president and CEO of the National Association of Latino Arts and Cultures, NALAC. We are a 32-year-old national arts service organization, intentionally have always made our home on the west side of San Antonio. We serve a national and international community. I am born and raised in Hondo, just west of San Antonio, Hondo, Texas, as some people call it. But my grandmother, my dad's family, my tios all lived in the west side. My grandma in the Prospect Hill neighborhood, and two of my tias as well. And my late husband's family is already 3 generations on the west side. And of course, we own the historic Buena Vista Gardens building on the corner of Buena Vista and Colorado, and 2 other adjoining properties, and that's where we office out of. And so I'm really interested in being part of this. And including artists and the arts community in this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. And Rob?
Yes, hi, how you doing?
Hi.
My name is Robert Acosta,
Uh-huh.
and I represent the Commons Garden Neighborhood Association.
Okay, good.
And I've lived in Westside pretty much my entire life. I'm a product of the Chaka Homes, Ceniza Park, Escobar, and Edgewood High School. Recently, I'm retired from the city of San Antonio. I was working with development services, so I do have some experience with plan amendments, zoning cases, and so forth.
Good. Good. Thank you, Rob.
Yes.
And I think we'll come back to Jessica. Jessica? No. Well, we'll come back. If you come back on, then we'll ask you to introduce yourself in a minute. Then, I think that's everybody, right? Did I miss anyone?
We caught everybody.
We got everybody. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And just to mention, there are, just so everybody on the call knows, there are, I'd have to look at our list, but probably another 10 or 12 people that have been invited to participate, perhaps just couldn't make it tonight. We did hear from a few of them who had some conflicts, but there's yet another 10 or 12 people who we're hoping will be part of this process with you, and hopefully we'll meet them in future meetings.
Great. Wonderful. I'd like to just kind of give an overview of what we're going to be, the topic for tonight, the agenda for this evening, and what we want to accomplish with that. What we want to do is to establish some working guidelines for working together, so that we have everybody has a clear understanding of how we can work together to be the most effective and to get the most participation from everyone. And then after that, you'll get an update. Chris and Anna will give you an update on the previous and the subsequent part of the plan. We'll talk about some important assets and challenges for the Westside area and get your thoughts about what those might be. And then think about and determine the schedule for working on the plan and explore some different approaches to how to proceed to work on the plan. Chris had some thoughts about maybe doing something more than just have a regular traditional meeting, but maybe have some other options for working on this plan together. The guidelines.
Linda,
Uh-huh.
I was just gonna say I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing you. I don't know if it's just me or everyone, but I don't know if.
No, I was going to say the same.
Yeah, me too.
Need to kind of speak a little louder.
Let me see.
There's a little bit of background noise behind you, Linda.
There's something. You know what? Let me hang on a second. Let me see if I can find something.
It could be somebody.
All right, I just didn't want you to keep going and then everyone asked you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's always much better to say something than not to. And that's part of our operating guidelines. That's when I say ask your question, which is one of the guidelines that we have, is that the idea is that a lot of times you're not the only one with the same question. It's always helpful to ask the question, even if you think nobody else cares. If you care, that's enough, but often there's more than just one person that's doing that. Let me try these headphones and see if this works better. Is that better? Is that better?
Yes, that's better. I hear you better.
Okay, good. And let me turn the volume up a little bit. That might, that's the problem. Yeah, okay, how about now? Good? All right, good. Okay, so then we're going to do a background on the Westside Community Area Plan, then review the planning process, look at an overview of the preliminary assets and challenges, talk about next steps, and then do a meeting evaluation. So that's the agenda. And the guidelines that we'd like to operate under, that I'm recommending, and I'm asking you all to say yes, is to listen to understand, to agree to disagree, because on most of these things, we won't need to have a consensus necessarily. What we need is sort of a general agreement on things. And then sometimes we just want to get lots of different thoughts about what you all think about something, not necessarily have agreement on what those might be. And then the share the airtime, and what that means is that to share the time that is available for conversation, so that nobody dominates and nobody gets left out. So that if you have a tendency to kind of hold back, maybe be a little bit more assertive and speak up. And if you have a tendency to be one that speaks up a lot, then kind of hold back and maybe let other people speak. And there'll be opportunities too where I'll say, can we hear from someone else, or does anybody else have anything they want to say? So I'll make some room for that. But I'd like for you all to take a responsibility also for doing that, to share that airtime. And then again, ask your question, and then please silence your cell phone. You'll be on mute most of the time, but it's helpful to just, if you just do that. That way, if during the conversations and stuff, you don't have to worry about the phone ringing. Is there anything else that you want to add to this that you think is important for us to consider as we move forward? Okay, I don't see anybody saying anything or raising hands. So what I'd like for you to do is to, well, the ones of you who are muted, does everybody know how to raise your hand if you have your video off? Okay, so if you're in agreement with these guidelines, if you will raise your hand if your video is on, or raise your hand or do a thumbs up or some kind of indication that you're okay with it. Great.
Linda, and Ms. Maria de Leon also suggested to mute if you're not speaking. We can add that to the list.
Yeah, I think oh, okay. Thank you. We'll add that on there. Let me add that here so we can put that on there. Okay, thank you. Okay, looks like everybody's okay with that. So let's go on, and what I'd like to do is a real quick warm-up activity. And so if you'll take your hands down, put your hands down, and then I want to ask you to raise your hand again. Okay, so if Mr. Glasscock and Dora and okay. So we're going to start, and you'll be doing it again. I'm going to ask you some questions, and I'm going to ask you to raise your hand when I ask you the question, okay? If it applies to you, okay? So the first one is, if you grew up on the West Side, raise your hand. Okay, so we got some idea of some of the ones of you that grew up on the West Side earlier when we were doing the introductions. Okay, good. Okay, so take your hand down. Lower your hand. And then if you were a previous West Side planning team member, raise your hand. Okay, good. Great. Good. We've got a nice mix here. And then if you have a birthday this month, raise your hand. Wow. 1, 2. That's amazing. Usually with a group
Linda,
this big.
I mean,
Yes.
Please, how do you do that raise a hand thing? Because I raised something and it's stuck now.
Okay, go to the same place where you just did it. Did somebody do it for you?
Oh, it just went out. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so where is it at again? I'm sorry.
I just did it, Eugenio.
Where the 3 dots are?
You can find it on the reactions.
Yeah, that's right. It's under reactions. At the bottom, you'll have reactions.
Oh, under reactions.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's there under reactions.
Okay, so it's oh, there it is. Oh, I got
Raise
it.
hand.
Thank you.
Okay, good.
And then you'll just go back there to lower it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Can you all just raise your hand again if you grew up or if you've worked in the West Side before, just so that we can capture that?
Do I do it on video or do I do it with the
either way you want to do
Either
it.
way.
Yeah. If you're on video, you just do it.
and yes.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Good. And then if you have a birthday, well, there was only one birthday this month. Nope. Let's see. Karisma, do you have a birthday this month? Okay. Delia, you have a birthday this month? Okay. Wow, nobody. That's amazing. Gee, okay. How about if you've been to an outdoor event in the last 2 weeks? Raise your hand. Several of you have been on, we've been out and about. Now that you can do it, it's people are going out. Good. Great. Thank you. And then if you're planning on going to a fiesta event, raise your hand. Any fiesta event, doesn't matter what. Okay. A few fiesta goers. All right, thank you. We just kind of wanted to play around a little bit and get kind of a warm-up opportunity. So I'm going to turn it back over to Anna.
Yeah, so we're going to give you a little bit of background on the As of Tomorrow and this specifics of area plan. We filled you in for those of you that were able to tune in last week, but we're going to cover a little bit briefly today. If you have any questions, if you want more in-depth information about these, please contact us after the meeting and we can share the slides. Chris, I believe he already shared the PowerPoint and the video for the Planning 101, but if you have any questions or you want us to go over any of that information in detail with you, please contact us. We're more than happy to meet you and answer any questions you may have. So, like I said, we're going to give you a brief overview. These are the sub-area plans. The comprehensive plan is basically one document that outlines the growth, environmental, transportation, and fiscal goals for our city out to 2040. So following the adoption of the As of Tomorrow Comprehensive Plan that was adopted by our City Council in 2016, the Planning Department began working with communities all across the city, and that's how we created 30 sub-areas that will collectively cover the entire city. So those 30 sub-area plans are broken down into 2 different categories. We have 13 regional centers, which are pretty much those areas where there's concentrations of jobs. And then you see them on the screen on different shades of blue. So those different shades of blue shows the different phases in which we have been working on them. The darker blue are the phase 1, which were started in 2017. And then you have also the different shades of blue or the lighter shades of blue that show phase 2 and phase 3 that we're working on at the moment. The other kind of sub-area plans that we work on are the community plan areas. So there's 17 areas that are outside of the regional centers, and they are primarily residential. So they are composed mainly of different neighborhood associations and residential areas, the Westside being one of those community plan areas. So do know that once adopted by City Council, these sub-area plans are basically the recommendations on how the city will invest and collaborate and establish partnerships for your specific area. So it's a very, very important plan. Next. And this is the study area. You might have seen it. If you want to see it in greater detail, we're more than happy to share that with you. Basically, this area extends just west of downtown out to Callahan Road. And then you have Highway 90 on the south, and it extends up north to Culebra Road. Then I'm going to pass it on to Chris. That's going to cover the progress on this one plan up to date.
Yes. Oop. I'm off mute. Okay, sorry. I'm trying to manage 2 screens and take notes. So a lot of you, I think this information will look familiar, but we wanted to kind of summarize it and then also provide a little bit of context for those who are new to the process. So originally, way back when we kicked off this plan, along with the other phase 1 plans that we worked on, there were 6 in total, back in June of 2017. Over 2017, 2018, and 2019, we worked on it kind of at different points. We kind of had some ups and downs in the process, some starts and stops, but in total, we met with various iterations of the planning team about 15 times. And we had 3 different community-wide meetings. 2 of them were kind of, one night everybody showed up. The other one that Anna and I did, that I think a lot of you attended, was a little bit smaller. We were over at El Maestro Center for a couple hours each day for 3 days in a row, more of just kind of an open house type of meeting that we'll definitely do again. In terms of progress and how we're moving forward, the balance that we're going to be trying to strike with all of you is building upon everything that we heard over those 2.5, 3 years, things that we've learned from you all in the community already. And balance that with any new information that we get from you all. Obviously, some things have changed with the advent of COVID. People's priorities on certain things might have changed slightly. So we're going to be, playing kind of a balancing act between everything that we've heard thus far, and then also wanting to hear new and fresh and updated information from all of you as we move forward. Later in the meeting, we're going to talk with you a little bit about some scheduling ideas and things like that. But following tonight's meeting, once we have some feedback from you, Anna and I are going to try to map out a more detailed schedule that we'll be able to share with you, and just talk about the variety of different ways that we're hoping to do outreach with the community, different types of meetings that we want to host, actually not even meetings, different types of activities that we want to have, et cetera. But in terms of kind of main takeaways that that the planning team worked on in the first couple of years, we have a draft vision and goals that we'll be sharing with all of you next meeting to just kind of make sure that that still feels relevant, to see if there's anything we need to sort of subtract or add to it to make it feel up to date. We have a very early draft land use map that we're still going to need to put quite a bit of work into. And that was one of the areas where we realized during the early part of the process that we were going to have to slow down a little bit, provide some more education, provide information in different ways just to make it feel more familiar and more relatable for everybody. So we're going to be continuing to work on that and welcome anybody's help who has started to work on those issues more themselves to help us figure out good ways to communicate those complicated concepts. In general, I would say that we identified kind of key challenges and opportunities related to some of the plan sections like transportation and mobility, housing, economic development, different community amenities and public spaces. But again, we're going to want to revisit those and make sure that everything we put forward in the plan now is up to date. We also talked about some different focus areas and key corridors. I think we're definitely going to want to revisit those. We also kind of have a new approach that we worked on with some of you in different parts of the West Side that we may be able to replicate and apply to other areas that haven't had that sort of an urban design look yet. And so with all that said, I'm currently working on a bit more of a comprehensive summary to kind of pull together and summarize everything that we felt like we heard from you at planning team meetings and all of the community meetings. So hopefully about 2 weeks from now, we'll have that pulled all into one document, be able to send that to you as kind of a midway point between this meeting and our next one, let you digest that. And then we're also working on a new existing conditions report because a lot of the data that was pulled and the mapping that was done is now almost 5 years old. And so we're working with some of our partners on pulling new data, making sure that our demographic data, our economic data, other data is up to date. And we'll kind of craft a new existing conditions report and with our consultants work on some new maps that may help inform the process as we all move forward. And I don't have an exact time that we'll have that, but I'm hoping it'll be ready for our next planning team meeting and can be part of that discussion perhaps. So with that, so one more slide here. So for those who hadn't been part of the process before, just to kind of give you an idea of in general where we're headed, we kind of covered these first 2 sections that are outlined in orange, analysis and visioning. And we started to develop the plan framework, which is basically those different topics I mentioned, like mobility, housing, economic development, parks and recreation, things like that. We're going to at least briefly revisit analysis and visioning, as I just spoke about. And the next meeting, we want to talk about the more formal vision and goals for the plan. And then a lot of our work together is really drafting the plan framework and coming up with those recommendations and those strategies that make sense for the West Side, or maybe even, some of our slides are still on auto. We've talked with several of you that, the West Side, the area as big as we're working in, it isn't all the same. And there may be some recommendations that, apply more consistently to the near West Side, but they don't apply, further out west towards Callahan Road. And so we may be doing some more geographically specific recommendations where that makes sense. And that's what we're going to have to work with you all and your communities on. And then following that, we'll start to take the plan into, creating those final recommendations, writing the draft plan, and then eventually taking it through the adoption process, which is a very public process that includes a briefing with Planning Commission, a formal hearing with the Planning Commission, and that's an open public meeting. And then we almost always go to the Planning and Community Development Subcommittee of City Council to present to them. And then pending their kind of, approval and go ahead, then we take the plan to the final meeting, which is with City Council for adoption as part of the comprehensive plan. So our hope and what we're tentatively thinking is to kind of work with you all maybe through the end of the calendar year to develop the kind of draft plan, and then the early part of next year, take it through that documentation and adoption schedule. But we're going to be flexible. We're going to see, how much progress we make at each stage. And adapt as needed. And we'll we'll rely on your feedback about how we're doing on that. And if we're moving ahead at a good pace, if there's anything we need to revisit, all that kind of thing. So with that, I think Linda had programmed in a quick break for us. And I think at that point, we're pretty much going to be done talking, and Linda is going to be asking you all to provide us with ideas and thoughts. So Linda, I don't know, couple minute break.
Yes, we're going to be going to a break right now for about 3 minutes. It's going to be a real short break, just basically just to give you a chance to kind of get away from the screen a little bit, stand up and move around. If you need to go to the restroom, you can do that, whatever you need to do, okay?
See you all in a couple minutes.
It'll be just a few minutes. Let me see, here we go. Okay, everybody, you ready? The 3 minutes are up. You'll come back now, please. Chris, let me see, I'm how to ask this. I should have asked you during the break. I'm sorry. Am I to assume that everybody here is on the committee, is on the planning team?
For the most part, yeah, I think.
So if I just go ahead and go just like we did before for the introductions, it's fine? Okay. All
I
right.
think that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, there's not enough extra people to make it work.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of extra people. Okay, good.
I was only worried about that when I thought we might have like.
Well, we thought there'd be a lot of extra people. Yeah.
But we're at a strong 26 participants tonight, which is
Yes,
awesome.
that's
So
very
thank you,
good.
everybody.
That's
Yeah.
very good. Yes. Okay, this next piece, what we're going to do is we're going to get some thoughts from you all. And I'm going to do is I'm going to ask a series of questions. One question has to do with what you consider to be the assets of the West Side. And then the second question will be what you consider to be the challenges on the West Side. And then the third question, we're going to ask you by email. I'll ask you just so you know what the question is and that you know that it's coming, but we're not going to get a response. Okay, so let me ask you then, the first question is, when you think about the assets of the West Side, what comes to your mind? And I'm going to use the same process that we used before. It'll be a little bit different because I'm going to start from the bottom and go up instead of, because what I did was I just went across my screen. But this time I'm going to go from the bottom of my screen up to the top. So the question then is, what do you think are assets? And I'm going to ask you to be short in your answer because we have 26 people or 24, 23 people that are responding. So we need to keep them relatively crisp. I think I had a professor who said that brevity was brilliance. So I'm going to ask you all to be brilliant in your responses. Okay, thank you. All righty, let's see. The person who is on the phone, if you will unmute, and then the next person after that will be Dora Gomez. So if you'll unmute and then respond, what do you think are what are assets that you consider for the West Side? If you'll unmute yourself.
In case they're not clear, the person on the phone has a number 210-380-2693. I think that's the only number we have.
That's the only phone we have. So I'm sorry, I should have said that.
That person's available. Oh.
There she comes. He or she, whoever it is.
Yeah, hi, this is Ben Perry.
Oh, hi, Ben.
Hi, sorry. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Yes,
I've been in transit.
Sure, no, that's fine. Thank you for staying with us, even though you're in transit. The question is, when you think about the assets of the West Side, what comes to your mind? Give me one, maybe two things that you consider to be an asset.
Well, I'd say that just the hometown feel of the West Side to me is the first thing that it just feels like family when you're on the West Side. It has a very calming presence about it, and I really appreciate that.
Okay, let me just say.
The other thing I noticed.
Okay, go ahead. I was just going to say, why don't I ask for one thing from everybody, and then if anybody has any they want to add, then we'll come back to you. Okay. So hang on to that thought, Ben, about the second one. Okay. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have set it up that way, but okay, Jessica. Jessica, and then the screen changed. So Jessica, and then Derek. What would you consider to be an asset on the West Side? Something that's positive about the West Side.
Are y'all talking to me? Can you hear me?
No, this is a different Jessica. The other,
Well,
when I say,
I just wanted to add this. I'm viewing y'all on my computer screen, but I don't have a microphone or the video because I'm using a different type of a
monitor. It's actually a television. And so I think that's why there's a confusion as to who the other Jessica is. It's me.
Well, you know what I'll say is Jessica Prospect Hill when it's your turn to talk. Okay.
Okay,
That way.
thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. Jessica. The other Jessica, the one that was going to say something a minute ago. Were you going to say something? No. All right, we'll come back to you, Jessica. Derek, and then Brian.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the culture of the West Side.
Okay. You want to say a little bit more, just maybe another sentence to clarify that, what you mean by the culture?
Yeah, so I guess also like the historical culture of the West Side, the artistic culture, the working class culture, the front porch culture.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. Brian? And then Mira.
I think Mira and I are probably going to step on one another here, but
that's okay. That's fine.
The West Side Creeks, the historic West Side Creeks, and the linear parkways that they will be becoming.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mira, and then Robert Acosta.
So very similar to what Brian said, but I'll add that one of the assets is a lot of the creeks and trails, the trails that we've just put in along the creeks.
Okay, great. Thank you. Robert and then Karen. Robert Acosta, are you there? And then Karen.
Robert's there.
Okay.
There he is.
All right. I said family. I mean, the closest family.
Okay, great. Family.
That's an asset, yes.
Definitely.
It's historical.
Yeah.
Even now, in today's time, it is.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Yes.
Karen?
Well, Robert took mine. I was going to say family.
Well,
we're both from Collins Gardens, so we're in like the same community.
Okay. Yeah.
It's the, I guess the friendliness of people over here.
Okay.
You know, they're willing to talk to everybody and say hello, and that's the way it is over here.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Karen. How about Daryl Glasscock and then Maria de Leon?
Yes, I'm going to represent and say the great educational institutions on the west side with Our Lady of the Lake, St. Mary's, and then UTSA right there on the eastern edge of it.
Yes, thank you. Maria? And then Richard. I will say it's the culture bearers that really support that generational creativity and resilience on the west side. Okay, the cultural bearers, right? Culture bearers, yeah. Yeah, okay. The cultural bearers, okay. And Richard? And then Sandra Morales.
Well, I'm going to say from my own personal, is the rich history that it has. Where I grew up, the strong family values. When I hear about migrant workers, the Vietnam War, the significance of voting, when I hear stories about Emma Tenayuca, etc., I can relate to all that.
Sure.
And also living in the West Side, the cultural history, whenever we talk about, oh yeah, race driving, oh yeah, we know where that is right away.
Yeah,
the mall house where it used to be, or we talk about Zamora and Guadalupe Street and other areas. Oh yeah, we can strongly relate to that. Because the rich cultural history.
Right. Thank you, Richard. Sandra Morales and then Jeremy Landin.
For me, there's so many, but definitely Mr. Glasscock it pointed out one of them, Our Lady of the Lake University. I mean, growing up, that was just to me, was more like a castle and just a place that I wanted to be.
Sure. Great. Thank you. Thank you, Sandra. Jeremy, and then Lauro.
Yes. Well, first, thank you for saying Landin, Linda. No one ever says Landin. And for me, it's the engagement of the community. I love seeing that there's so many people on here that are so active and they're passionate about what they say and do. And then it's the heritage that ties them to that. You know, I met you doing a march during, you know, Dia de los Muertos. So and so many others on here in different ways. So it's, you know, everyone ties that heritage back to the work that they do. And I think that's really important.
Yes, thank you. Good. Lauro, and then Stephen Garza Gomez.
I believe one of the biggest assets that we have coming to the west side is the education center that we have right now. And we're starting to get a new building, which will be a college campus. And this is a campus that is catering to every need of the trades and the technology that we have here in San Antonio. So also it's going to be affordable, if not free.
Yeah. So a community college campus is coming.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Thank you. Stephen? And then Delia.
Definitely the history and the presence of arts and culture on the west side, thinking about the San Antonio murals, thinking about the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center. Definitely want to echo Christina Bayou's sentiments about the designation of the Westside Cultural Arts District, which happened last year. And then on a personal level, thinking about, you know, I don't know how to say this, but just like it feels like home, you know, and you know your neighbors and they know you and you look out for each other. So definitely a safe neighborhood setting, and I've felt that my whole life.
Great. Thank you, Stephen. Delia, and then Higinio. Delia, what do you consider to be an asset on the west side? Oops. There you go. Delia? Yeah, there you go. You just unmuted yourself. Leave it like that. Delia. Okay. We'll come back to you in a minute, Delia. Higinio, and then Christine Viña.
And most of the things that have been mentioned are pretty much in line. And being that the settlers, I mean, I would say settlers or whatever, but they were very hardworking people and they all help one another. And even today, I was pleasantly surprised, well, like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, that a neighbor, without asking or anything, they just cut the grass because they knew I was trying to start the mower. It didn't work. I put it away. I wake up in the morning and it's cut, which is like, wow. I mean,
Yeah,
so
that's
we
pretty
have
cool.
that unity and that respect for one another.
Yeah.
And
great.
and it's a hardworking society. I mean, group. You see everybody leaving in the mornings. I'm here because I'm retired. You know? So I just watch them, and I mean, I should sit outside and wave at them, like, you know, go back to work. But yeah,
Okay,
really
good.
hardworking people. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Higinio. Christine Viña, and then Simon.
I think mine are more from an observation perspective, but I would say the resilience of people and advocacy for their community, the authentic housing stock, and really the thing that comes to my mind first and foremost is I look at it as kind of the last intact community in San Antonio that has not been totally gentrified.
Yes. Okay, good. Thank you, Christine. Simon, and then Gabriel.
I would have to say it's the people. Everything that we consider to be great about the West Side is really rooted in the people that live here, that work here, that have stories to tell. I think that's the most powerful component of living on the West Side. It's the memories that we all, share. that we gather and that we promote.
Right. Thank you. Gabriel? And then Jessica, Prospect Hill.
The study area has a lot of mini barritos, little neighborhood areas, and with those areas you got bakeries, you got corner stores, you got churches that are a hub to the community, and people walk to those areas and they're still active. You know, I see people walking to the Good Sam Center, to the different churches. You know, they even walk to the HEB. You know, also, you know.
Yeah, yeah. That there's a what do they call them? Neighborhood centers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Gabriel. How about you, Jessica? Prospect Hill, Jessica?
I'd like to elaborate on what Miss Christina was mentioning about well, let me just say this. I'm gonna go on another tangent. I'm gonna say that the community leaders that started a lot of the nonprofits, I think, are an asset because they're proved to be a mentorship to us that's made us all become more involved and motivated to put an effort to improve, but yet maintain the integrity of our Westside grassroots.
Yeah.
I have family who has historical. I believe, I'm not sure, like the Don Juan restaurant. My family owned. My dad, he was one of my mentors as well as Charlie Mata, who just recently he passed. Made me want to become an advocate. That's part of the West Side. How can I say, the vibe that we help one another and we serve as resources to each other, and that's the only way that you know, I think our unity as Latinos in the West Side has, you know, strengthened over the years and over the generations.
Great. Thank you, Jessica.
You're welcome.
And Carisma, and then Christina Valle.
Hi. Well, I definitely want to talk about just the resilience that it does take to live here in the barrio. But not even, it's more than resilience because yeah, people are friendly. Not everybody is friendly. You have to kind of know your way, which streets not to walk down, stuff like that. But it's also about the potential, all the potential that we have here, and just making things accessible as we can so people can reach that potential. I feel like that's super important to mention.
Great, thank you. Christina?
Yes, hi. People have already mentioned the cultural assets of the area, you know, the rich, deep Mexican-American culture. But then, of course, there's also organized and formal cultural assets in all the arts organizations that are here. And these are arts organizations with decades of experience and national leadership, organizations that are respected throughout the country for the contribution to Latino arts and culture that they have made.
Right.
And these are all, you know, a lot of them are housed here in the West Side.
The West Side.
We're very close to each other,
That's
and
right.
that is why we got a designation, official designation by Texas Commission on the Arts as a cultural district, which we are about to develop, which we will continue to develop. So that is a big asset.
Great, thank you. Let me go back to Richard. Did you want to say, no, Richard, you did speak. No, I'm sorry, it wasn't you, it was Jessica. It was Jessica. I think Jessica may be not there or busy.
Yeah. And Linda, I could just say, Delia, maybe she wasn't able to verbalize it because of microphone issues, but she did write in the chat.
Okay.
Pride and dedication to improving opportunities for everyone.
Great.
And then Eric Estrada had to drop off because of a dead phone battery, but he's going to try to jump back.
No, okay. There's always something like that.
I'm back. I was kind of kicked off by a phone call or something.
No, Jessica, it wasn't you. It was the other Jessica.
Oh, the other Jessica. Okay, I'm so sorry. I do apologize again.
No, that's okay. It's not a problem.
We might want to create a nickname for me or something.
Maybe last initials next time.
Yeah, we'll get you to put something on there. Okay.
Yes, I will.
Is there
Okay,
any? Is there anything anybody absolutely wants to make sure gets on this list of assets that we haven't already talked about? If it is, just unmute yourself and or raise your hand so I know to call on you.
Linda, are any corrections, since I was going pretty fast?
Actually, you did pretty good. I thought you did pretty well.
If anybody sees any corrections, please speak up and I'll.
Yeah, on the yeah.
This is Maria de Leon. When I talked about culture bearers, I also talked about creativity and resilience that has already been mentioned, but up at the top of culture bearers is that creativity in the community. Thank you.
Thank you for adding that.
And I would add to that also the housing authority. You know, we have a tremendous number of residential units that they run, and they are pretty prevalent throughout the West Side, and they are an asset.
Okay.
You know, there's change afoot, I think, to make them better, but it's certainly something that we can't overlook.
Right. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Simone, just to add context to that, Anna and I actually had a very good conversation on Friday, actually, with Richard Milk, who's one of the policy directors at Saha. And he hopes to participate in the planning team as much as he can. And then he is also going to work to help put us in touch with all of the resident councils at the different Saha properties, such that we can either find a way to invite them to participate in meetings like this, or Anna and I might just go to them and host a similar meeting, you know, at Casiano, at Alazan Apache, at San Juan, at all the different, I think there's 9 different Saha properties in total in this study area. So that's definitely on our radar to make sure that we find creative ways to make sure that we hear their voices and their ideas and their concerns. So thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you. Gabriel?
I think another asset is our roadway system. We have Highway 90. We got Sasamora. We got Couples, McMullen, 36th Street. What is it? Callahan, and then we got Guadalupe, Castroville.
Yeah.
And as we go, so we have a real strong thoroughfare system around the neighborhood.
Great. Thank you.
Can I add to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Say that the community roadway network is probably one of the strongest in the city, which allows for public transit to operate quite well through the neighborhood because of the grid system of roadways.
Great, thank you.
Linda, we also have a contribution from Brian Mast on the chat. He's wanting to add neighborhood parks, and he's citing Woodland and Elmendorf.
Great. Okay, terrific. Any other? Delia, Delia, you have your hand up? Did you want to say something or add something?
And I have one other point, and I know I sent it in.
Hang on 1 second. Yeah, go ahead, Delia, and then we'll come back to you, Simone. Go ahead, Delia. Did you want to add something, Delia? Oh, you're having microphone problems, is what I understand. Okay, if you'll put it in the chat, we'll be sure and get what you're saying, okay? Simone?
Yeah, one other point I raised before, and that is the on the education side, you know, I think SISD, another one is an asset, as well as Edgewood, and you know, did ask whether there was representation, because I think they're really important to the future growth of the area, as well as the education of our youth and prosperity.
Great, thank you. Okay, if we're okay to, Gabriel?
Yeah, and then we also have supporting stuff like the Good Time Center, Barrio Clinics. You know, there's positions out there.
Lots of services, yeah. Okay, great.
May
Thank
I
you.
add something? May
Yes,
I
of
add
course.
something?
Yes.
Okay, well, being that I do represent Prospect Hill and I'm from the Arizona Apache Court, I reside in Loma Park, and there's a lot of differences, but a lot of beautiful things about this area over here, including which I wanted to mention the park. I think that in light of what we have talked about, the trails and doing so, these parks are not how can I say, they can add a little bit more to these parks because there's so much um attendance by many of the kids. There's a lot of ball games here, parents, people walking, exercising. There's a Zumba class that has been since the planning team started. The Zumba like a group of like 10 ladies meet every day by the Loma Park Elementary, and they do Zumba, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay. I think we've got everything. Supporting agencies like the Madonna. Is Richard is adding on there that? Yeah. Thank you. Okay, let's move to challenges now. When you think about challenges, what are some challenges that could be addressed through the planning process? So there's not just challenges by themselves, but challenges that could be addressed through this planning process that we're working on right now. And I'm going to ask you just to say whatever it is. I'm not going to go do each one. So if you have a thought about that.
Is this regarding the in any area or any specific or any general?
Just the main thing I'm looking for are challenges that can be addressed by planning, so that it's something that we can do through this planning process that we could.
Well, I'd like to add this. And it's not, I don't know that it's something that it's allowed to or to be mentioned, but like there's a lot of challenges that I see around my neighborhood, the layout where there's a lot of vacant lots, and and I think that getting some of these issues addressed first versus making decisions to do this or that with the planning team. For me, I find it very challenging because I love to like tell you all this I can, because I take notes of everything that I see, and on my street they just dump so much stuff on these empty lots that I mean that like
So
it's hard for me to avoid and not say anything about it, you know. But
So
that's a challenge in
the
itself.
challenge that you're identifying is that there's empty lots and that people dump on them.
Yes, and it's like I would like that addressed, but I know that it kind of just doesn't go with the plan that they
Well,
we're working on.
we'll see how it would figure in. So
Well, thank you. I do appreciate
the
that.
thing is to say it, and then if we can address it, then we will, and if we can't, then
Thank
we'll
you
let
so
you know
much.
that we can't.
That lets me know so much that it takes a big weight off my shoulders. Thank you.
Good. Gabriel, did you have something? And then Lauro?
Yeah, there's two things I have. It's one's in housing, and she mentioned vacant lots, but also we're getting a lot of outside investors that are buying into the neighborhood, and they're rebuilding or rehabbing the houses, and they sell them for a higher price, and then the neighborhood taxes go up, and
So
the neighbors can't pay the new taxes.
Yeah, so the gentrification.
Yes, that's a real issue. We get a lot of complaints from the area there in the west side on the other is the railroad tracks that go north and south from and they stop the traffic, and Via knows because I've seen the Via bus stop there on Cevarvo Street because the Via can't go east and west, and they're stuck there.
Sure.
You know, and it happens on Zamora Street. And everybody gets upset, but the train totally stops.
Yeah, I'm not sure what we could do in terms of that, but we'll write it down to see what possibilities there are. And then let's see, Lauro, did you have one that you wanted to add? A challenge? We can't hear you. Can you unmute yourself? Yeah, thank you.
Okay. one of the biggest challenges that we have in this area of Los Jardines is the density and equity.
Can you say a little bit about that? What you mean by that?
Well, what it is we don't have enough people living in this community due to a lot of people living in 1 acre homes, and also the restrictions that Lakeland has set in order to get apartments that are higher than 3 stories high. And the equity, we don't have any like berries and big stores to go shopping to. So that's what I mean.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
I do want to mention something. Can I please?
Hang on a second, Jessica. Let me get a couple of other people to say something, and then we'll come back to you. I wanted to make sure everybody gets a chance to speak before everybody else. Okay.
My apologies.
Karen, you've got your hand up.
Yes. I don't know how quite to say this without getting everybody mad. But I've lived in this area, seems like forever. And one of the things, I don't know how planning can do this, but it's like our neighborhood meetings and stuff, neighborhood association meetings, there's hardly any attendance. And people just wait for stuff to blow up, and then it's like they're not proactive, they're reactive. They don't engage in a lot of the things that go on in the community. I know one of the gentlemen was mentioning about how investors are coming in, but what I see, and this is an observation, is that a lot of the houses that these investors come and get are houses that are left to the children, and the children don't want to mess with them because they feel that they don't have the advantages on this side of town like they do on other side of town. So they sell them to these investors.
Okay.
And I noticed that when we've had to do, like, when they send out letters to the owners of properties, like within 200 feet, when there's going to be something like zoning, everybody's out of town. Nobody lives in those houses. They're all rent houses.
Yeah.
So I don't know what planning can do to change that, but that's just, one of the things that I've seen.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Chris, did you want to say something?
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, I appreciate, because I've often been the one that had to say, like, that's not something that we can necessarily address in this plan or whatever, but I would say practically everything you all have brought up tonight, there are, if not planning solutions, at least things that we can mention, recommendations we can make, other agencies or other departments that we can engage, whether it's vacant lots that Jessica was wondering about, wondering about houses that are getting flipped because the children either aren't interested in maintaining them or don't want to bear the tax consequences. There's strategies like housing trusts. There's lots of different things that we can look at to address these ideas. So this is all wonderful, wonderful information that we can build on.
Okay, great.
Neighborhood meetings. I don't know how we can help with that, but we'll.
Yeah, yeah. Stephen, and then Eugenio. I'm going by people who have their hands raised. So if you want to do that either raise your hand physically or raise your hand on the reactions. Okay. So Stephen, and then Eugenio.
Sure. A couple of things. One is stuff that we're hearing from our young people in our program is the safety of the walkways, bus stops, and just the streets getting to our organization. Also access to arts education in school, and access to free arts opportunities. And then on a personal level,
hey, slow down. Just want to let Laura catch up with you. So
sure.
You want to make sure you catch her.
You got it.
Okay.
No
all right, go ahead.
I'm sorry, safety of walkways, bus stops, and
streets.
Streets, of course. Thank you.
Absolutely, no problem.
And Stephen, before you go on, do most of your students and youth that come to SAC, do they originate in neighborhoods and schools in the West Side, or are they coming from various parts of the city?
We have young people who come from all parts of San Antonio. But because they're coming from other areas, they are taking the bus. So walking to safety. And other students who are in the neighborhood who are coming from Lanier or other schools that are walking distance, you know, we've heard that they would rather get a ride than walk the few blocks away our building.
Okay.
On a personal level, kind of along the lines of gentrification and the movement that's happening, I lived in Collins Garden for the last 7 years. I was renting, and our landlord turned our rental home into an Airbnb, and so we had to find a house. I wanted to buy in the West Side. I was looking at 78237, 78207, places that I had historically lived, but we couldn't afford it. We couldn't afford any of the houses that were there. So we bought a little further south. So, you know, I think a couple of things along with that are just like, one is the movement that's happening and what that's doing to working class families. And then also home buying education. You know, we had a lot of people who were renters in our neighborhood, and, you know, we together did not have an understanding of what it took to buy a home, what that process was like, and if they wanted to buy in the neighborhood, what resources were available to them. And so I had to do a lot of learning by myself. And so I think that education around home buying is definitely important.
Great, thank you. Christina, you've had your hand up. Did you want to talk, or did you just not lower your hand? Christina Bailly.
Yes. I wanted to also point out the yes, like Stephen said, the streets, the infrastructure, sidewalks, and those type of things, and also the public safety. You know, some of the public safety issues that are still occurring in some of the areas.
Great, thank you. And then I'm sorry, Brian, I just jumped right past you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I'm trying.
You and I were playing.
It won't let me.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was me going back and forth.
Yeah. No, you know, one of the things that we saw when the federal government and the local government invested in the Mission Reach project, we did see gentrification pressures. And so we do recognize with the new federal investment in the Westside Creeks that we anticipate, we need to be fully aware and anticipate some of those pressures occurring again. And those entities that have the ability to, as Chris was saying, to address some of those issues, we need to bring those to bear sooner than later, because I'm afraid it's gonna come like a tidal wave.
It's gonna end up like East Austin.
Yeah, and a much smaller, well, maybe not a much smaller issue, but in my mind, a different scale is there is residual street flooding that occurs in the neighborhoods that we could have an opportunity to address through identifying these issues throughout the community and providing some relief to those neighborhoods.
Okay, great, thank you. Let's see. Somebody had their hand up, and oh, Richard.
Linda, I have a few comments that were dropped in the chat.
Yeah, thank you. Because I saw that there were some, but I hadn't gotten to them. Yeah, go ahead and say what they are so Laura can get them.
Yes, Ms. Maria de Leon had to jump off the call, but she said that as part of the challenges he sees, there's a need for improved streets, sidewalks, handicap access, drainage, more green space in play areas for children, and improve public transportation. We also have a comment from Mr. Salas saying that we need short transportation options. To travel through the neighborhood to major retail centers.
Linda, I think that this is Christine. I think the comment was short loop transportation options.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
But I would say
short loop,
maybe education about existing transportation options that could address some of the, some of it might be perception about a lack of connectivity that, or connections that are there. Now, certainly COVID has changed a lot of our service.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. Okay. And let me also say, Richard sent one that was directed to me that says a sense of frustration, anger, hopelessness, and helpless that our voice falls on deaf ears. There are no federal and state agencies such as the Social Security office in our area. And that a via bus line on Northwest 36th Esmeralda Street from Port San Antonio to Wonderland of the Americas, formerly Crossroads Mall. It's at...
Sorry, you're going to have to repeat that.
No, that's okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to... The via bus line on Northwest 36th / Esmeralda Street from Port San Antonio to Wonderland of the Americas, formerly Crossroads Mall. And Richard, would you say, I'm not quite sure what it is about the bus route. Are you asking that there be one, or there's a problem with that existing line? Richard? Where's Richard? No, there's Richard. Can you speak to that,
Yes,
Richard?
yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We years back in the 80s, we used to have a bus line here on Northwest 36 in Esmeralda, but they took it away. And from then, we've been asking VSA, and this is not the first time I brought it up, Chris. Is hey, we need a via bus line here. And I've also brought it up to my public elected officials, the city council, and it falls on deaf ears. Still nothing. So we're in dire need of one.
Okay.
So that's why I say that our voices fall on deaf ears. We have like you asking over and over and over again. It's kind of like playing, not that I've ever done this, but like playing Russian roulette. We don't know which time they're going to get it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And Richard, just to follow up on that, we definitely did hear those comments, earlier in the process, and we talked to VIA, about what that might look like, how we might write a recommendation, that would help address that. And I can't see my whole screen to know if Christine Vina is still on, but
yes, she is.
Something like that unfortunately doesn't happen overnight, and VIA has to balance a lot of different service priorities
factors,
across the city. And so I'm not sure what their exact process is for redesignating a line, but we certainly have talked to them about the possibility of that and tying it in down to the Port San Antonio Regional Center plan that we worked on. And so, Christine, I don't know if you have any other plans on how we might continue thinking about that in this process.
If everyone would apply to become a driver, that would help. No, I'm being serious. The shortage of drivers, unfortunately, can only be stretched so far. And we've had to cut some service recently because of that. And so it is a true balancing act about ridership, and serving destinations. And but I would definitely, leave it on the list. But I do remember that being
that's one of the issues. Yeah. Okay.
Well, with that, Christine, I find your remarks somewhat sarcastic about being a driver.
No, and I don't mean that at all. Seriously.
No, excuse me, ma'am. I'll still finish talking. But anyway, but I'm still saying that we've been asking for this over and over from our city council people. I know, Chris. Are we going to see it anytime this decade, or shall we wait till next decade?
Well, we don't know at this point, Richard. We're just
That's
gonna
just
put,
it, ma'am. No,
we're
no
gonna
one
keep,
knows, ma'am.
yeah, we're gonna keep it on
Mhm.
the list and see what we can do with that.
Yes, ma'am. In the meantime, we still remain frustrated and
Yeah, I'm
we're
sorry.
helpless and hopelessness because our concerns fall on deaf ears.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
and
the ears aren't deaf right now. I mean, I think there people are hearing you, and we've got it on the list. That whether we can do anything about it or not is another thing, because there's
and doing something about it now, or making sure that it stays on the list. So when and if we can start to add service back to the entire network, because part of the evaluation that goes into it is not just this line, but what are the other lines that connect in, and where are those origins and destinations? And certainly I am not being sarcastic when I say that about the drivers. We are suffering a great shortage of our drivers, and we have had to cut service because of that. And so we are trying to rebuild that part of our workforce to be able to offer additional service. And so by expressing, a certain need here, I think this is, positive in terms of we need to keep, unfortunately, I don't want to say hammering the point, but making sure that this does not come off the list of need in the future.
Yeah.
I would say that, I've had a lot of discussions just recently with people who, because of the increase in gas costs, are starting to weigh that balance in their own minds about riding, public transit. And I think as we start to see more people ramp up and have more need for service, certainly we're going to do everything that we can to make sure that we can put additional service back on the road.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Christine. I appreciate that. But we're at this point, like I said at the beginning of the meeting, we're just going to agree to disagree. When I see other bus lines jumping all over the city of San Antonio and Bexar County, they may say, well, what about us? How come our concerns still fall on deaf ears? But like I said, we're just going to agree to disagree, man.
Okay. And then maybe the mobility piece of this, we can look at that a little bit deeper.
Yeah, good. Carisma, you had your hand up a minute ago. Did you want to say something?
Hey, I guess it's just I don't know how okay, this is weird because I don't know how we would do it with planning. I didn't go to school for urban planning or anything like that. But I know that there are like different social things and physical things in our neighborhood that kind of like increase kind of substance abuse. And I don't know what to do about it. I've experienced it myself, not personally, but it happens. We live in the barrio. That's how it goes, right? So like, what are some like things? It's just like a thought to put in your mind.
Sure.
What are some things that we could do, urban planning wise, physically planning, that could kind of like deteriorate these kind of social constructs? It's okay to like do drugs and get high, So
yeah.
I mean, these are real questions that we have to ask ourselves.
Sure.
And how to kind of translate them, right?
Yeah.
So just something that I thought about.
Okay, thank you.
No worries.
And let's see, I'm letting everybody speak one time before somebody else speaks. Okay, that's where we're doing this right now. Okay, I don't see anybody else. So, Eugenio, you've had your hand up for a little bit. Well, Eugenio, and then Gabriel.
You longer no. Okay, some of the challenges that I see is that I've been to so many meetings since the 90s, and little by little you start learning that city staff, the city has engineers, the city has professionals, they have extraordinary people working, and they give their opinions. And some of the times it's denial for certain things, and then it might be a denial that can be tweaked and turned into an approval, but normally it stays denial. So what I've seen is that the challenge is this: we all want things fixed, but there's a right way of fixing it so it doesn't break down sooner. So certain things even have to start way in the north side in the aquifer area to prevent flooding over here. That's how far we might have to go. So sometimes we want things right here done right now, but sadly it's not the proper way of doing things. The other thing is, like in my area, I asked some engineers, how would you do it? And they'll tell you the right way. And they'll tell you, you have to start from the lowest point up for drainage. What do we do? Well, whoever has more people gathered, or they have a thing going on, you'll be heard. So they build up their street. And now north of us, what happened is they did that. And what happened, lo and behold, they were flooding both ends of their street. So the people that got their thing fixed was fixed, but unfortunately they created other problems. So we really need to have a well-designed plan so that it is done the right way. Even though, we've been waiting since the 40s.
Yeah.
And I input the things that they tell you, that put in your street, put in this, but then at the same time I said, wait a minute, fixing our street is going to hurt others. So how can I do that?
Yeah.
Because it has to be done the right way.
It has to be done from a comprehensive,
that's the word. I thank you. That's why you're there, Linda, because you know your stuff. It's true, a comprehensive way.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
Okay.
And the other
hang
thing
on,
is,
Jessica. Hang on, let him finish, and then
Go-
we'll
go
get
ahead.
to you. I'll get to you. Now, finish your thought, Eugenio. Just wrap it up, and then we'll go to
yes,
Jessica.
well, that's the word. We do need a comprehensive look at things so that way we can do them right. Like right now, they're putting medians again. The medians were removed in the old days because there were a lot of accidents, and there was an Iowa study that removed medians in the middle of the roads, and the left turn lane where you can just get in the middle lane and turn. It also helped emergency vehicles in the event there was and I was in fire department, so I saw this. So it really helped in the event of accidents and stuff, in that you could use that middle lane to get to and from a place. So we have to
wrap
be
it up.
slow and be careful. Just comprehensive and due diligence. That's what I'm asking for.
Okay.
Or should happen.
Sounds good. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye. Jessica?
Yes, well, I agree with Eugenio. I believe that because of a lot of our neighborhoods are gonna get a lot of improvement, and I know that, but we should start at the core, like to have a good foundation, because we can have all these new things added and improvements done, but we have a lot of existing conditions that lie underground, and I believe that we starting with a strong foundation, then you can build and have a resilient structure and that can withstand our tumultuous weather that we have in Texas or San Antonio. And also we are some of our curbs, like on Culebra and Bandera, like the Valero. I've seen accidents where the curb, they don't see it because it's like camouflaged, and I see people that flatten tires or sometimes even come close to flipping. So I wanted to add that if they can mark these differences of when where the sidewalk
to
starts
show
and
that
where,
more clearly. Yeah.
yes, yes,
Okay.
that's all more clarity on that. Thank
Okay.
you.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Let's see. Is anybody else? Gabriel, and then we're going to move to we're going to start wrapping up because we're running out of time. Gabriel?
So Zamora Street has declined on businesses, and I think we need better access. Maybe look into the possibility of making ramps from Highway 90 to Zamora Street to improve the access. I know there was a bridge that was going to go over the railroad tracks near Frio City Road and so Zamora Street. So that's a big positive there, and improve also the better access going down the different intersections from on Highway 90 to our north-south roads. The other thing I want to emphasize is when the lady brought up substance abuse, we got a lot of drug houses in the West Side, and the reason I know that is because we have a lot of we hold a meeting with the police chief at least twice a year, and we drug houses, and we show them to where they are. And so the neighborhood associations or the groups need to know that there's a way to get rid of them, and we have to educate them somehow how they can approach, the SAPD, the service department, on how to clean our neighborhood.
Yeah. Yeah, and the issue is, how do you clean the neighborhood without getting somebody else's neighborhood? They just move to the next neighborhood. Yeah. So I'm gonna stop here, and if you have any others that you want to add, if you'll send them to Chris or to Anna, that would be great. You can they've put their email address and way to contact them in the chat. So it's
Linda. The one last hand that I had seen up for a little while was Simone.
Oh, I'm sorry, Simone. Yes.
It's one last one that I had seen up for a little while.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm sorry.
I'll be quick. I mean, I think all of these challenges take money. And I think one thing that would be worth looking at, but it'd be very hard, and maybe not from a planning perspective, and that is, if you look at the land that's surrounding and part of the West Side, a lot of it is not taxable. I'm not saying that's bad, it's just reality. You look at the Laughlin Air Force Base, the Port Authority, the Housing Authority, the school districts, universities, they all are creating an infrastructure for money to be made. But I wish there was more of a balance in terms of look at the West Side as a place to develop and grow businesses so that there's a bigger tax base. I think that's something to take a look at. And I don't know how planning or zoning can do that potentially, but it's a reality. We don't have undeveloped land that we can, like other parts of town do, to kind of raise and increase that tax base.
Yeah, thank you. And one last question that I'm going to ask the question now, but I don't want you to respond now because we're going to send it to you in the email. And from the email, we're going to ask you to respond relatively quickly, because what we want to do is we want to take the information from your emails and then have that as the basis for the discussion at the next meeting. Okay. So the question is, what do you think are the 5 most important things to focus on in our planning? As we're doing the planning for this area, what are the 5 most important things that you think need to be taken into account or dealt with, addressed in this planning process? So think about that. You'll get an email in the next couple of days asking you to respond to that. And if you'll respond, what my experience is with those kinds of emails is that if you don't respond right away, it gets lost in your email trail. Okay. So respond to it, think about it now, write down your thoughts about it. When that email comes, then you can respond quickly to it. Okay. Then let me see. I need to turn this over then to Anna. You're muted, Anna.
Thank you. So in addition to the proposed regular planning team meetings and community meetings that some of you may be used to, do know that we are open to provide additional opportunities for engagement. So on the screen, you'll see some of those creative opportunities that we have discussed internally, but we want to know your opinion. If you think some of these will work, if you have ideas on additional things we can tap into, whether it's a formal interaction or something more creative, please let us know. Some of these things that we are considering include doing office hours, making ourselves available within your plan area, either once a month, every 2 weeks. That depends on the kind of information and engagement that you need from us. We're also thinking of doing focus areas. So the idea behind this is to bring experts on different topics together so that we can focus on a topic and we can fully develop ideas, specific ideas as we go through the different topics on the plan. We also have walk and talk sessions so that we can walk around the neighborhood and see some of the comments and insights that you have. We're thinking of also doing engagement with the youth advisory group. So Mr. Salas was kind enough to give us some ideas and some pointers as far as who to reach out to so we can have representation from the youth in this area. And we just recently, actually today, heard about this opportunity about Paseo del Westside, and we're gonna make ourselves available, have a table, share information. But like I said, if you have any event, or even if it's not an event, but you would want to invite us to join you and share information and just talk about the plan and know all the comments that you have, please let us know if any of these and any additional ways of interaction will work, so that we can plan that out as we move forward. So is there any comments about these interactions that I mentioned? Or if we're short on time, you can always email us any questions, email us your ideas, give us feedback, because I do believe we're at time, or we're close to that.
And I would just say on that front, not only kind of conceptual things, like if you have an idea for a meeting type or, an activity, anything like that, sort of in general, we're open to that. But if you have specific ideas, like, an event is happening with your neighborhood association or with your church or at your community center, a very specific thing on a specific date, let us know. We're going to just start keeping a list, and any of those that we can get to, we're going to try to, whether it's Anna or myself or both of us. So both kind of general concepts as well as very specific events are much appreciated, because we're going to try to be out in various parts of the community in the West Side as much as we possibly can.
You want to try the poll now?
Yeah, so we also want to know your preference over meeting times for the upcoming meetings. If there's a particular day and time of the meeting, we're gonna do a poll, and I believe that's available on the poll function at the end of your screen, at the lower bottom of your screen, next to participants and next to chat, in between those two. So you can access that and answer that question for us to have a better idea.
Great. We'll give you about another minute or so to do that. Let's see. So, yeah, we've got 10 of 17 people, so we need a few more people to participate.
Glad to see one in the lead, because I was really afraid we would just get 5 right at a.
Hey, Chris, you know how Planning Commission, or I don't know if any of the other commissions have a phone number that if you want to make comments, you can just call in at any time and they can read the comments. Is there any kind of telephone line that this plan could have that anyone could call in about anything?
That's on his cell phone. No, I'm just kidding. Well, we certainly provide my phone number and Anna's phone number, and we're always willing to take calls. I don't know if there's some honestly, because somebody could just leave us a message, even if they're wanting to call at 10 o'clock at night when they have a thought and leave a message. I suppose that's fine. But we could also look into some other technology. Maybe it's a Google line or something that allows people to call anytime. We can definitely look into that.
Okay.
And then on any marquee that's in the West Side.
Okay, here we go. I'm gonna show you the results of the poll. Okay, can you all see that? So it looks like Monday is the preference. Monday's pretty much got it. Okay. So
yeah, Friday didn't even have a name.
Friday didn't even have a name. What happened is I added that, and then I thought, no, we're not going to do Friday, and I took it off, but it kept the space. I couldn't figure out how to get the space off of it. Okay, so we have another one to ask you. Let's see. Well, okay, here we go. Oh, here. I'm sorry, I'm just learning how to do this. Okay. So the other one then is what time of day do you prefer for the meetings? Do you want it in the morning, between the hours of 9 and 11, in the afternoon, between 1 and 4, or in the evening like 6 or 6:30? So it looks like we've got everybody but one person. I'm going to go ahead and close this poll. Okay, here we go. So the results then are, looks like an evening meeting by 50%. And the Mondays in the morning and the afternoon are split. So it looks like it's going to be evening meetings then. Okay. And so
requested morning or afternoon, you know, and we kind of have to cater to the majority on this, but you know, if there's a time where you can't make an evening meeting because of a conflict, we're always going to be sending out meeting summaries, including from this meeting. But also, again, Anna and I are available if you just want to have a quick call with us. We could quickly walk you through what we plan to cover at a planning team meeting, or the type of questions we're going to be asking. And we're happy to have a quick phone call or shoot you an email with information. You just know you won't be able to make it. A lot of you have already been real proactive about letting us know that. And we're more than happy to take some extra steps to try to get info to you if you can't make a particular meeting.
So one last thing that we have that we wanted to do was just a really quick meeting evaluation. And if we can put that's basically what we're asking is pluses and wishes. What, if you'll move the slide to the next, yeah, there you go. So pluses are things that worked for you in terms of how we did the meeting, what happened with the meeting today, anything that worked for you. And then wishes would be things that you wish we'd done differently, or that you wish we would do next meeting. So if you just say whatever it is, if you'll say one thing, and then so that everybody gets a chance to say one thing if they want to. Plus, and say whether it's or not it's a plus or a wish. Unmute yourself if you're wanting to say something. Go ahead, Gabriel.
I think the meeting went real well. I really enjoyed it, but a wish that I would have is I don't know if it's possible, is maybe to meet in person at least one meeting.
Maybe so. Never know what's going to happen in the next few months or so.
Yeah, and we're definitely open to that. We wanted to start with virtual, especially because when we first started planning this date was when the Omicron cases were still quite high. But we agree, if we can find ways to meet in person, if not for all the meetings, at least certain key ones where it's going to really help to gather around some maps or whatever it is, we are definitely open to that, and we'll try to make that happen for sure.
So anything else, pluses or wishes? Just unmute yourself and say whatever it is.
I said maybe using the chat more. That a lot of people like to put comments in the chat and then use that as a summary rather than going through person by person.
Okay. So that's a wish?
Yeah.
Okay. Pluses or wishes?
I like the Zoom meetings personally, especially with the price of gas.
Yeah. Get on the bus. Okay, what else? Pluses or wishes? Whatever your thoughts are. What worked well for you and what you wish we would do differently?
This is Ben Perry. I would just also echo if we could have at least hybrid meetings, if we have meetings in person, to make them availability to be hybrid, to work with people who might not be able to physically be present.
Okay, great. Good deal.
As long as there's good audio.
Yeah.
Yeah, which may limit the locations we can use, but we can definitely look into that.
Yeah.
One question for those talking about in-person meetings would be, and we don't have to get all the answers tonight. If you have ideas, and you want to email them to me, that's fine too. But is it easier to have one set location that we use every time, which is how we've done it in some of our planning areas? Or do you like the idea of us trying to find locations in different parts of the study area to kind of move it around into different people's neighborhoods and parts of town? I don't know if anybody has
Like a fixed location.
Fixed location was one vote? Okay.
Okay, and Christina Bailly is saying that she likes to vary the locations.
Okay.
Okay, so, okay, I think going once, comments going once, comments going twice.
I would say since the evening won out, is starting at 5:30 an option, or is that just not feasible?
I don't know.
I think it's feasible to us, although
It's feasible to us, yeah.
Richard had to hop off. He asked for us to start at 6:30. So there's varying opinions there. But yeah, we can play around with it, or maybe we vary the start time by half an hour sometimes.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's it then. It's a few minutes past the time, so thank you all for staying. Really appreciate your participation and your willingness to share your thoughts and ideas. And we will see you next month. We don't know yet, we don't have a date yet, but we'll see you next month.
We're looking for about 4 weeks from now. We've got 4 dates in mind, and we're going to try to look at the feedback that we got from you in the polls tonight and any emails that we get. And we'll hopefully be sending out a date to you by the end of the week so that you can reserve that time. So,
okay, thank you. Gabriel?
Another question?
Just remember that the next month we have, for those of us who are Catholic, we have Holy Week. So that becomes a pretty distinct week that's blocked out.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you for the reminder.
All righty.
Thank you, everyone. We appreciate
all right.
your time.
Thank
and
you all very
insights.
much.
Thank you.
Bye.